6 spine-chilling tales of sinister cults, haunted cemeteries, and forbidden Nahuales revealed. The air crackled with an unseen tension as Anna rummaged through the shadowy corners of the attic, a thick dust settling around her like a shroud. Halloween approached, but this year felt different, charged with an eerie undercurrent. The moment she pried the creaky trunk open, a cold gust rushed in, whispering secrets of the past. Inside lay her father's belongings, relics she had buried in her mind, until now. Among mundane trinkets, artifacts that should never have been touched, lay the bone necklace, photographs of shadowy figures, and symbols etched into fragile parchment that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Instinctive dread gripped her heart. These pieces were far more sinister than she had imagined. As days passed, the quaint suburb outside Atlanta transformed. The familiar surroundings morphed into a haunted stage. The flickering lights began their ominous dance across the walls, shadows writhed just out of her sight, and whispers curled their way through the air, chilling her spine. Tommy's laughter twisted her stomach into knots. He played with a new friend, someone unseen, someone she couldn't shake. "Mommy, Maurice says he likes the bones," he giggled one evening, and Anna's blood ran cold. Who was Maurice? She had tried to ignore the darkness creeping into their lives, but it was feeding off her fear, feeding off them both. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Anna's unease escalated to panic as she ventured into her neighbor's eyes, once friendly, now dark and lingering. They skirted around her questions about the ancient burial ground at the end of the street, the cemetery said to house Nahuales, protectors of dark secrets. Their evasive glances painted a chilling picture. They weren't just neighbors, they were the watchers, guardians of secrets that threatened to consume her. Then came the night Tommy disappeared. A bone-chilling cold wrapped around her like a vice as she searched, her breath visible in the dimming streetlight glow. The world felt suffocating and claustrophobic. Shadows morphed into creatures lurking just beyond her vision. Tommy's absence sent shockwaves of dread crashing through her. The whispers in her home crescendoed into a cacophony of voices just as the ground squirmed beneath her feet. Anna raced toward the cemetery, instinct driving her closer to the truth, and the ancient markers beckoned her with a knowledge she was terrified to uncover. As Anna stood tall above the weathered stones, the wind howled, cutting through her resolve. She could feel the ancient eyes watching, the weight of reality looming large. Her once gentle suburb had become a kaleidoscope of fear. Was it too late to save Tommy? The veil between her life and the chilling legacy of her father fell apart in a swirl of fallen leaves and deeper shadows. She would have to confront not just the Nahuales, but the fate that awaited them in the dark embrace of buried secrets. In that moment, one ominous question echoed in her mind: was she the next to become one of them? As Anna's breath came in sharp, terrified gasps, the darkness around the cemetery pinched tighter, each shadow feeling more palpable. She squinted into the murky depths, seeking any sign of her son. "Tommy." Her voice cracked, and the silence that followed seemed to mock her. The gravestones loomed like ancient sentinels, their carvings deceivingly serene. Yet, as she stepped closer, the chilling symbols her father had once sketched filled her mind, the same symbols engraved on the forgotten bone necklace. They whispered to her, tempting her with promises of knowledge. But at what cost? Suddenly, a cry pierced the air. It was Tommy. The sound, raw and pitiful, came from deeper within the cemetery. Eyes wide with fear, she stumbled toward the source, desperation propelling her forward. Each footfall thudded painfully in her chest, the earth seeming to shift beneath her, as though heaving in anticipation of her pursuit. A gust of wind swirled around her, twisting fallen leaves like dark fingers, and then she heard it again, an almost happy giggle. "Mommy. Maurice says don't be scared." The laughter cascaded through her thoughts, sweet yet sinister, spiraling into a pit of terror in her gut. "Stop. Come back, Tommy. The words clawed at her throat. Rushing forward, she found herself facing a clearing, illuminated by an unnatural glow. The trees formed a natural circle, dark silhouettes against the strange light, where a soft figure stood, one that seemed to pulse with energy. Maurice, the sight froze her in place. The figure appeared almost childlike, its features obscured by shadows, but it felt ancient, its essence entwined with the earth itself. It beckoned to Tommy, who danced, oblivious to the danger that slithered around him. "He's so happy here, Mommy," he called, his voice a twisted echo. "No. Tommy." Anna lunged forward, but the ground trembled, roots snaking up from below, ensnaring her feet. Panic clawed at her heart. This earth was alive, a hungry entity wrapping her in its frightful embrace. "Join us," Maurice squeaked, as if sensing her fear. He gestured with an arm that seemed to extend far too long, his fingers twisted like gnarled branches. The air shimmered around him, and an unsettling hum filled the space, resonating in her bones. "But who are you?" she shouted, straining against the roots that gripped her. "What do you want with my son?" In that moment, the laughter turned dark, morphing into an unsettling chorus that erupted from the shadows surrounding her. A dozen figures melted from the darkness, faces twisted with joy and malevolence. Neighbors she had once known, now transformed into shades of lurking terror. Their eyes glowed with a relentless hunger, and she could feel their gaze piercing into her very soul. The panic surged. Anna's heart raced as she clawed at the roots, desperate to pull herself free. Tommy was too close to the unknown, the veil of innocence lost. A shadow rose, and she caught a glimpse of his smile, happy, unaware, and utterly entranced by Maurice. Just as she reached out, and her fingers brushed against her son's shoulder, a voice cut through the chaos, deep and resonant. "You've awakened us, child. These are not the bones of the past, they are the keys to the future." With a final tug, the roots released her, but the world around her began to fade, disintegrating into shards of darkness. Tommy turned, his eyes glossing over with a surface sheen that sent waves of dread crashing over Anna. "Mommy, can we stay forever?" "No. We have to go." But the wind howled, drowning out her words, folding the shadows around her. Desperation clawed at her chest as she lunged for her son again, only to find herself collapsing into oblivion. The cemetery shuddered, a yawning maw ready to swallow any remnants of light, leaving the question hanging in the clammy air: would she find Tommy again, or was she destined to join the darkness forever? As the last vestiges of her world flickered, Anna's thoughts spiraled. Would she accept the truth behind Maurice and the Nahuales, or would her love expose her to a fate worse than death? Anna tumbled through a shroud of darkness, her body weightless, as if gravity had forgotten her. The rush of wind shrieked in her ears, a cacophony of voices whispering, taunting her sanity. She saw flashes of silver glinting gravestones, skeletal fingers reaching out from the ground. Panic surged anew, a fresh wave that threatened to pull her under. "Tommy!" she screamed, the name tearing from her throat like a desperate ember. In response, the darkness shifted. Suddenly, she was on her feet again, the cold, damp earth pushing against her skin. Breathing heavily, she found herself back in the cemetery, disoriented and alone. An acrid smell hung in the air, a mix of wet leaves and something putrid. That feeling of eyes watching her morphed into a suffocating presence. Nothing felt real. How could she have lost him? The beat of her heart echoed against her ribcage like a drummer urging her to run, to fight. As she steadied herself, a distant sound tickled her ears, the laughter again, but it was muted, sinister, reverberating through the trees with mocking intent. It came from deeper within the graveyard, swirling around like a mirthful wind. "Mommy! Look! Maurice is showing me something." Tommy's voice sparkled with childlike wonder, each word laced with dread. "No. Not like this." Tears stung Anna's eyes as she sprinted toward the echo. Each step felt heavier, like she was wading through an unseen swamp. Shadows moved, flickering just out of sight. She stumbled over a gravestone, the cold granite a painful reminder of the stakes. "Tommy!" Her voice cracked, desperation clawing through her. Suddenly, she caught glimpses of movement in her peripheral vision, figures cloaked in darkness, just beyond the edge of the clearing. They danced, twisted shadows mingling like tall grass in the wind, their outlines shifting and morphing. Anna's breath quickened. With each step closer, she felt the promise of something lurking, something ancient beneath her very feet. "Mommy, come play with us." Tommy's laughter chimed once more, echoing eerily in the twilight. Now, the clearing loomed ahead, bathed in a sickly, golden light. Trees formed a protective wall, but she felt the opposite, trapped, ensnared. The ground had begun to pulsate beneath her, a heartbeat, no, a warning. "Tommy!" She called out, her voice wavering. Right when she thought she saw him, a figure darted through the light. Maurice stood there, beckoning, his grin almost grotesque against the shimmering backdrop. The other figures abruptly turned to face her, their eyes glowing with an unwavering hunger. Anna gasped, recognizing features from her past, people she used to chat with at the bakery, at the park. They were all lost to the darkness now, mere shadows weaving into an unsettling tapestry. "Join us, Anna," they sang in unison, their voices a sweetened poison. "Together we can teach you the truth." The roots of the cemetery clawed at her feet again, sentient and ravenous. She felt waves of betrayal sink into her heart. Were they here to help or lead her into ruin? "Tommy!" She screamed again, the childlike laughter still echoing as he danced joyfully among the shadows. Their laughter morphed into a haunting melody, beckoning her closer. The ground trembled, and Anna's resolve wavered. She felt something powerful, seductive, pulling at her core. Images flickered like old film reels, an ancient ceremony, whispered secrets passed down through generations. Suddenly, a moment of clarity pierced through the haze. "No!" she yelled, fighting against the force pulling her. "I won't lose him." With that defiance, the ground erupted. The shadows recoiled, the figures bellowing in anger as the light flickered violently. Anna plunged forward, desperate to reach for her son, who had shot to the very center of the clearing. "Tommy!" But what if joining them meant knowing the truth, the hidden history behind the Nahuales? As she grasped at the frantic energy of the moment, the very earth beneath her began to crack, presenting a grand maw eager to swallow them both, her desire clouded by the echoes of truth and lies swirling in the air. Was she brave, or simply a moth drawn to a merciless flame? The choice loomed heavy in the air, but time was running out. "Tommy, don't listen. We need each other." But would he even hear? With her heart racing, the abyss gaped open before her. Anna felt the weight of her decision as the shadows closed in, each breath pulling her deeper into danger. Would her love survive the darkness? Or would fate seal them forever? The earth beneath Anna's feet groaned as if it were alive, the fissures widening, threatening to swallow her whole. Panic clawed at her throat. She could hear Tommy's laughter intertwining with the whispers, each sound blurring into a haunting symphony. Shadows loomed larger, more menacing, their forms shifting impossibly, and the familiar faces from her past danced around her like vicious specters. "Mommy, don't go." Tommy's voice quivered, a sparkle of innocence trapped in the abyss. "I'm coming. I swear." The words fell from her lips, raw with desperation. Her heart pounded like a drum, each beat a countdown. She pressed forward, trying to fight through the haze of shadows that clawed at her. The clearing pulsed with an unholy energy, the ground trembling as the figures moved in synchrony, drawn to her like flames to a moth. Was it her love or her fear that they craved? Each step felt like stepping deeper into an ancient snare, anchoring her in despair. "Anna!" The voices of the long-lost echoed, merging into a ghastly choir. "We can all be one again, forever." Forever, the word sent shivers down Anna's spine, a reminder of loss that twisted her gut. Every part of her screamed to flee. Yet, the thrumming call of her son yanked her closer. "Tommy!" She shrieked again, her voice slicing through the eerie melody. "Don't listen to them." The shadows recoiled like raised hands. A blinding light flickered, illuminating the edges of the clearing. For one horrifying moment, time seemed to elongate, every horror weighing heavily in the stillness. She saw Tommy kneeling at the heart of it all, a child ensnared in temptation. Maurice stood by him, his grin stretched impossibly wide, obscured by the sickly glow. "Come join us, Anna," Maurice hissed, his tongue flickering like a serpent. "We can reveal the truth, show you everything." What truth? The question flared in her mind, igniting her doubts. The very foundations of the earth trembled, and she felt it again, a seductive pull, a promise of belonging intermixed with chilling horror. Was the truth worth the price of her soul? Tommy. It was a frantic, primal scream, each syllable exploding from her chest. The ground quaked, the fissures yawning wider as if wanting to swallow the shadows whole. But in that final moment, Anna caught a glimpse, a flicker of Tommy's frightened face, his eyes wide and searching. And her heart constricted, igniting a fierce, raw determination. "I want to let you take him." Summoning everything within her, she lunged forward, fighting against the dark tendrils wrapping around her. The ground roared in protest, a violent wind lifting her hair as the shadows howled in anguish. The world spun as the ancient burial ground screamed its wrath. Anna could feel the power of sacrifice crashing against her. Faces twisted and writhed, reaching. Still, she would not falter. Her love for Tommy surged, propelling her toward the shrieking shadows. "Hold on, sweet boy. I'm coming." The darkness recoiled, the shadows freezing in momentary shock as her voice rippled through the air like a blade, but just as she thought she could reach him, the earth cracked wide, a chasm of despair yawning open. From its depths, a nebulous force pulsed, pulling everything toward it, a magnetic void trapping both the living and the lost. And then, the laughter again, softly taunting, wrapping around her heart like a vice. "Join us, Anna, you won't have to fight anymore." With the last of her strength, Anna grasped for Tommy, reaching beyond the abyss, her fingers brushing against air, longing for the warmth of his hand. But the darkness quaked, the light flickering ominously. Anna felt herself teetering on the edge, the weight of the choice crushing her. Had she come to save him, or would she lose herself to the shadows? Time hung thick in the air as dread sank into her bones. Just when all seemed lost, she heard it, Tommy's voice, stronger now, breaking through. "Mommy, please don't go." His plea ignited a fierce hope, one that bolstered her spirit against the encroaching darkness. "Together, Tommy. We face it together." But would her love be enough to shatter the darkness? Was there still time to save her son before they were claimed by the night? As the chasm writhed and the shadows lunged, Anna realized the truth loomed like an unforgiving specter, and every moment put them closer to the brink. Would she be able to bring Tommy back, or had the darkness won? Hesitation curled within her, leaving a question burning in her heart. Would they triumph, or would the shadowy grip pull them into oblivion? The chasm pulsated like a living thing, its depths beckoning as if hungry for more souls to devour. Anna felt the edge beneath her falter, the abyss a dark whisper promising peace if she just let go. She shook her head violently as if to clear the fog that wrapped around her thoughts. "Hold on, Tommy. Just hold on." The desperation barely masked the quavering of her voice, but the flames of determination were fanned by her love. Tommy's small frame was barely visible, still kneeling at the heart of the storm, wide-eyed and trembling. "Mommy." His face was a mask of terror, the joy she once knew was replaced by confusion and fear. "I don't want to be here." The shadows raged around him, swirling, writhing like live snakes. Maurice swirled in and out of sight, his grin a permanent reminder of wickedness. "He belongs to us, Anna. Just like you. Embrace it." With every word, the shadows pressed closer, a sea of suffocating darkness threatening to pull her in. Anna felt her breath quicken as panic clawed at her throat. A suffocating weight pressed on her chest, doubts crept in. What if it was true? What if joining them meant renouncing despair? A rush of adrenaline shot through her. She wouldn't let fear dictate her. She remembered the laughter they shared, the warmth of Tommy's hugs, the way he placed his small hands in hers, trusting her completely. That love surged back, filling her with energy that roared against the encroaching dread. Not today. Anna shouted, her voice rising above the wretched cacophony. The shadows momentarily faltered, reluctant to face the fierce light of her conviction. Then, in a sudden moment, she lunged into the void, feeling the ground crumble beneath her. Time slowed, gravity lost its grasp as she fell or perhaps soared toward Tommy. She reached towards him, her fingers outstretched. "I'm here. I'm here." As she got closer, she saw his hands reaching back, trembling, desperately trying to grasp hold of something solid. There was a heartbeat where their fingers almost connected. But the shadows roared to life, angry at her defiance. They unleashed a frigid wind, chilling her to the bone. They shrieked in agony as despair twisted their forms. She felt the bitterness of their cold, icy tendrils snaking around her ankles, pulling her down, further down. "No. You don't own us." The words blurted from her lips, fierce and raw like a battle cry that in a final push of instinct, she gripped the earth with her hands, digging her fingers into the soil, feeling the dirt slip between her knuckles. She breathed, centering herself with the essence of the ground, feeling that she was a part of it. The shadows recoiled, hissed, and flinched as if her very defiance burned them. "Tommy." She called again, her voice unwavering. "I need you to be brave. Just reach for me." He nodded, and though the shadows clung to him, fear in his eyes began to flicker away. With a fierce resolve, he pushed through, arms reaching with all his strength, his innocence somehow piercing through layers of darkness like a beacon. But then, all at once, the fissures around them shrieked, the earth beneath them heaving a monstrous howl echoing as if the world itself was enthralled to the shadows. "Welcome home, Anna. Join us. Your time is where you belong." Anna's heart thudded painfully as she felt the raw terror threatening to rip through her. The weight of generations lay heavy in her mind. She could sense the stories of those lost, a lineage cursed or forsaken, all seeking solace in the void, and then, with one last desperate lunge, Tommy grasped her hand. Their fingers intertwined, warmth flooding her heart like wildfire. But the shadows tightened their hold, tugging, pulling, an invasion of despair clawing at the edges of her sanity that it was all or nothing. Anna's thoughts spiraled, the fear whispering again. They could come together, endlessly be free forever. Together. She shouted, her voice piercing through the chaos. "We will not be lost." As the shadows howled, the chasm cracked wider, a new void threatening to swallow all that was left. Terror and hope intermingled, a battle waged on that thin line between light and dark. Anna felt the last remnants of her strength wavering, but the warmth from Tommy's grip lit a fire in her soul. "Come on, sweet boy. Fight with me." At that moment, they sensed something shifting, a weak pulse of light in the darkness. What lay beyond, she didn't know. But she sensed something dreadful awaited them if they could just break free. "Don't let go, Tommy. Whatever happens, we face it together." As the shadows screamed and the chasm hungered, their fates intertwined like a noose. Would they find the way back or be consumed in the dark? In that heartbeat of uncertainty, a new presence surged, an energy more ancient than the darkness itself, and with it came the whisper, "You've awakened what should remain asleep." The ground trembled beneath them, and the air thickened. Shadows could feel it, and so could Anna. What would happen next could either save them or drag them into an abyss deeper than mere darkness. The earth quaked violently, the shadows howling as if they possessed voices of lost souls. Anna held Tommy's hand with a grip that could rival the strongest chains. The cold tendrils around her ankles twisted tighter, relentless and angry, but she refused to yield. "Don't look down," she shouted, her heart pounding with each word. A distant glow pulsed from the chasm, drawing her gaze. It flickered like a dying star, illuminating the tremors in the landscape. The shadows hissed, scrambling to block the light, their forms writhing in agony. With every pulse of the glow, it felt as though something was awakening, something malevolent, hungry for chaos. "Mommy! What is happening?" Tommy's voice was strained, laden with panic, but there was a flicker of belief behind his wide eyes. He was fighting, he was strong. The glow pulsed again, an echo of hope, and they fell into a moment of silence, deafening in its intensity. "Stay close," Anna commanded, pulling him nearer, abandoning the notion of safety tethered to land. The chasm loomed beneath them, its depths a terrifying unknown, yet the flickering light beckoned. "We can't let them win. We are not yours." With that declaration, she stumbled forward, dragging Tommy with her as the abyss roared angrily. Suddenly, the light surged, a blinding flash enveloping them, its warmth sweeping through Anna like a tide of fire. She could feel its ancient power coursing through her veins, pulsating with a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. The shadows recoiled, shrieking as if burned, "No. You will join us. You cannot resist." Their voices intertwined, a cacophony of dread that threatened to overwhelm, but Anna felt the stir of defiance. She could tap into the light, she could bend it, wield it. "You'll never take us!" she screamed, thrusting her free hand toward the chasm's heart where the glow emanated. The air thickened, crackling with tension as the shadows seemed to freeze. Distance and depth blurred, collapsing in on themselves as Anna's spirit soared. Then, in a rush of energy, Tommy shouted, "I believe in you, Mommy. I believe." His innocent belief acted like a key, unlocking the power of their bond. Light erupted from her fingertips, slicing through the darkness, illuminating shapes once shrouded in despair. Each burst sent the shadows cowering away, but they screeched in unison, desperate to reclaim their grasp. Anna faltered, the onslaught of shadows surging. She tightened her hold on Tommy, feeling his terror bleed into her resolve. "We have to get out of here." Suddenly, the ground beneath her felt like a living thing. It twisted, pulling her toward the gaping maw of the chasm. Breathing hard, Anna summoned every ounce of strength. "We'll leap together." "Together." Tommy echoed, his voice infused with a spark of hope. In one swift motion, they took a step forward, propelled by love and fear. The shadows shrieked, tearing at them, but they leaped into the light. The world blurred around them, and in that electrifying moment, they were suspended between time, gripping each other as the darkness swirled, howling in furious defeat, and then, as suddenly as it began, they crashed down, the chaotic noise silenced in an instant. The warmth dissipated, and darkness closed in like a thick fog. Anna gasped, heart racing as she looked around. They were nowhere near the chasm anymore. It was as if they had been ejected from a nightmare, yet the chilling whispers still lingered, echoing in the corners of her mind. "Are we safe?" Tommy asked, his small voice trembling, uncertainty shaping his wide eyes. "I don't." Anna shook her head, and then froze. Before her stood an ancient stone doorway, engraved with symbols that pulsed in rhythm with the whispers growing louder. An unsettling realization dawned on her. This was more than just a dark presence, it was an invitation. Whatever lay beyond that door embraced shadows. "Tommy, wait," Anna warned, her body tensing, but the incantations of darkness began to seep through the cracks of the ancient stone. They had escaped the depths, but they had not escaped at all. Would they confront what awaited on the other side, or would they dare to turn back to the abyss? The urge to know grew stronger, drowning out their fears. As the shadows creeped toward them, the light within Anna flickered weakly. "We need to choose," she breathed. But what if? The air thinned, the doorway trembling with anticipation. Bound by love and fear, their next step would change everything. What awaited them behind that door could be salvation or damnation. The door loomed tall and ominous, its heavy wooden frame adorned with writhing symbols, twisted shapes that seemed to pulse and shift like living shadows. Anna's heart thundered in her chest, drowning out the whispers that coiled around her, whispering secrets only darkness would know. "Mommy, I don't like this," Tommy whimpered, his tiny hands squeezing her tighter, fear radiating off him like a palpable wave. "Me neither, love," she replied, voice strained, trying to shield him from her own gnawing dread. "But we have to find out what's inside. It might be the only way out." With a deep breath, Anna stepped forward. The shadows hissed and shrieked, anger rising like a tempest as if they sensed her decision. The door, a looming portal into the unknown, creaked open under her touch. The air was thick, heavy with an unnatural chill that clawed at her skin. A dim light flickered from within, illuminating jagged stones on the floor. The deeper they stepped inside, the more it felt like the very walls were closing in on them, alive with a sinister intent. Tommy clutched her tightly, his face buried into her side, trembling with an urgency that mirrored her own rising panic. "Stay close, Tommy," she hissed through clenched teeth. "No matter what happens, don't let go." Every footfall echoed ominously, reverberating through the darkened space as they descended further into the bowels of the doorway's throat. Wisps of shadow darted around them, taunting, whispering their promises of terror, a promise of what awaited for those who dared trespass. As they moved deeper, Anna's breath hitched. Strange paintings adorned the walls, depicting twisted faces and grotesque ceremonies. Figures in cloaks danced ritualistically around what appeared to be a sacrificial altar, their eyes hollow and malevolent. A dread realization crept up on her. Those figures resembled the faces that had haunted her dreams, the very shadows that had chased her through the chasm. "Mommy!" Tommy squeaked, pointing to a figure stepping out from the darkest corner of the room. A woman, her eyes glinting with malice, advanced toward them, cloaked in dark robes that flowed like smoke. "Welcome!" Her voice slithered through the air, a caress so sickly sweet it curdled the pit of Anna's stomach. "You've come to join us, have you not?" "Who are you?" Anna demanded, instinctively stepping back, shielding Tommy with her body. "Oh, I've waited long for this moment," the woman replied, her smile chilling, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp. "You think you can resist us? We've seen your struggles. You belong to the darkness, just like all the others." "No." Anna shot back, adrenaline fueling her denial. "We are not like them." The shadows around them writhed in excitement, hungry to snatch up hope. The temperature dropped suddenly, leaving their breaths visible, a pallid vapor of fear. Tommy shivered beside her, and the darkness closed in, coiling around them like a serpent tightening its grip. "Children are so deliciously naive," the woman continued, her voice a melodic whisper, "but hope only nourishes despair. Will you feed it to us?" With shaking fists, Anna pushed against the weight of despair curling around them. "We will never give in. Light will always find a way." In that moment, the glow of her defiance resonated within her, igniting the dull embers of hope in the air. The shadows recoiled, screaming as if burned, more furious than ever, hurling themselves at her like a tidal wave, wanting her to drown in their abyss of anguish. "Tommy, close your eyes!" she yelled, eyes fixed on the oncoming storm of darkness. Anna summoned the warmth glowing faintly within her, channeling everything she had, every ounce of love, strength, and fierce protection. She focused it all, one thought guiding her: she wouldn't let them take her son. As she unleashed it, a blinding light burst forth from her, cutting through the gathering shadows like a sword. The blare of radiance lit every corner, illuminating the sinister figure still advancing, locked in disbelief. The light sent the shadows reeling, but Anna knew that this burst was only temporary. "Run!" she screamed, yanking Tommy with her as they fled deeper into the light, towards a possible exit. Behind them, the furious whispers shifted into a collective wail, a frantic cry of fury that clawed at her heels. Just as they arrived at an archway beyond the altar, a voice thundered through the chamber, shaking the stones around them. "You cannot escape. You will join us, whether you will or not." In that moment of truth, Anna's heart smacked against her ribs, blood pounding as she glanced back, fear writ large on her face. The shadows writhed and stretched, desperate to consume them. Did she have the strength to fight back again, or was this the end of her and Tommy and the beginning of their descent into madness? As they vanished into the light, she could only hope it held the answers they desperately sought, their salvation or the ultimate trap. Would they find freedom beyond the threshold or become the next victims of the horror lurking just behind them? The archway loomed ahead, an ethereal glow pouring through like a sunbeam piercing a stormy sky. Anna felt an adrenaline surge as she shoved Tommy forward, pushing him through the shimmering veil. Just as she crossed the threshold, the wailing behind them intensified, an unholy chorus echoing through the chamber as shadows clawed for their retreat. They stumbled into what appeared to be a large, empty hall. Stone walls outlined an expanse that was unsettlingly silent, and for a brief moment, it felt like they had escaped. But the air was thick with an uneasy stillness, a silence that buzzed in Anna's ears. She turned to look back, heart racing, wondering if the shadows would follow. "Mommy?" Tommy's small voice broke the eerie quiet. He peeked around her, wide-eyed, searching for anything to anchor his beleaguered mind. "Stay close," she whispered, pulling him into her side. They took tentative steps deeper into the hall. Suddenly, shadows pooled at the edges of the light, swirling with a life of their own. The flicker of illumination from their escape gleamed off damp stone, revealing grotesque markings, much like the ones back in the chamber. It was a language ancient and maleficent, promising echoes of curses long forgotten. "Look," Tommy said, staring at a mural on the wall. It depicted a horrific scene of people bound, twisted, their faces contorted with agony. "Mommy, what does that mean?" I don't know, sweetheart," Anna replied, her throat tightening. She felt it then, the heavy press of dread at the back of her mind, something watching, waiting. "Run!" A voice screamed within her. It was visceral and urgent, the kind of command that leaves no room for question. Yet, for every impulse to flee, something in her, an instinct as old as time, told her to stay. To confront whatever lurked in the darkness, they hesitated, pressed against the stone, the sanctuary slowly suffocating with each tick of silence. Just as Anna gathered her breath to move, the atmosphere shifted. An icy wind caressed her skin, whispering promises of forgotten fears. Shadows elongated and morphed, coiling tightly around them, teasing her instincts to run. Then a figure materialized before them, blocking the way they had come. It was a man, his eyes sunken and unblinking, hollowed out, as if the light within had been devoured long ago. He wore torn remnants of clothing that hung from his gaunt frame, and a sinister grin fractured his face like cracked porcelain. "Ah, new arrivals. You've brought hope into our domain." His voice was smooth, dripping with condescension. "But hope is a fragile thing, isn't it? It breaks so beautifully." Anna's resolve hardened, even as terror gnawed at her insides. "We are not here for you. We will take our son and leave." "Leave?" He chuckled, lifting a bony hand. Shadows rippled across the hall, stretching toward her like greedy hands seeking to ensnare. "You don't understand. This is where hope dies. You cannot escape what you are meant to become." The man's presence was suffocating. Anna instinctively shielded Tommy with her body, but the boy trembled fiercely, sensing the oppressive darkness. In the midst of the shadows, she could feel the stakes rising, fear pulsing like a heartbeat in the cramped space. "Tommy, listen to me." Her voice pierced through the trembling silence. "You have to be brave. We'll find a way out together. No matter what." With a frantic vision, she grasped an ancient stone off the floor, its surface cold against her palm. "If they want hope to perish, we'll show them light." As if in response, the figure's grin widened, losing all humanity. "The light will not save you here. You are surrounded, consumed by what you are too afraid to face." His words shot through Anna like ice. Panic clawed at her throat as the reality of his statement sank in. With every breath, the shadows lurked closer, tightening around them as if showcasing their suffocating embrace. Suddenly, the air pulsed with a palpable energy, and Anna's heartbeat synchronized with the rhythm of the darkness. There was a shift, a disruption, and she could feel the shadows hesitating, wavering as if unsure. "Now, Tommy!" she shouted, hoisting him beside her as they scrambled for an exit. But as they lunged forward, an ear-splitting laughter erupted around them, shaking the foundations of the hall. "You cannot run from your fate. The darkness is your destiny." They plunged ahead with desperate urgency, scrambling for a door, a crack, anything to free them from the clutches of encroaching doom. Each step reverberated with a heartbeat of dread, a countdown to the inevitable, would they find salvation in the depths of the abyss, or were they simply further entangling themselves in the web of an unspeakable fate? The darkness wrapped itself around Anna and Tommy like a living entity, pulsating with every frantic heartbeat. Shadows danced and twisted, responding to every flicker of their fear. Anna's breath came in short gasps, her grip on Tommy tightening as she desperately sought any semblance of safety. "Where do we go?" Tommy's voice trembled, the innocent question a stab to Anna's heart. She could feel dread clawing at her chest, a visceral reminder that escape was becoming a fading dream. Suddenly, the laughter grew louder, echoing off the stone walls, a cacophony of despair dragging them down. "There's no way out. The more you run, the deeper you spiral," the figure with sunken eyes taunted, his voice like shattered glass. Anna's instincts screamed at her to flee, yet another part held her rooted, paralyzed by a fear too profound to name. She could see it now, the walls around them were no longer familiar, their angles shifting, dripping with malice. "Come on!" Anna cried, her voice stronger than she felt. She pulled Tommy towards a narrow passageway that emerged from the gloom, the lingering darkness reaching for them, frustrated by their movement. They dove into the narrow tunnel, skidding on damp stones, the walls seeming to close in. The flickering light from the hall faded quickly, swallowed whole by the void behind them. Each step felt like running headlong into the belly of a beast. "Mommy," Tommy whimpered, the fear in his eyes puncturing Anna's resolve. "Shoo, it's okay," she replied, trying to sound reassuring. But her voice quaked. There was no comfort to be found here. As they pressed deeper, the air thickened with something hot and acrid, a scent of decay that made Anna gag. She wished for light, for warmth, for anything that could pierce the omnipresent suffocation. The passage twisted and turned, revealing walls covered with more grotesque murals, images of chained figures with eyes wide in terror, painted in colors as dark as dread itself. "Why do they look like that? Why are they all scared?" Tommy asked, his voice a small candle flickering in the storm of horror. Anna couldn't answer. She felt the weight of something ancient pressing against her soul. "Keep your eyes on me, Tommy. No matter what you see, do not look away." But the shadows were alive, slithering along the ground, whispering promises and threats, filling the air with a sibilant chant that echoed like a funeral dirge. The further they crept, the more the shadows seemed to beckon them back, an insidious pull that threatened to drown them in despair. Suddenly, they came to a dead end, a wall blocking their path, rough and uneven, the stone jagged as if it had been torn from the earth. Anna's heart sank, the laughter faded but rose again in the shadows, mocking her efforts. "Now they're trapped like us." The voice cooed mockingly from the darkness. "Think, Anna." She heard herself whisper, scrambling against the cold stone, looking for any opening, any chink in the wall leading to salvation. "Mommy, I'm scared." Tommy's voice cut through her panic, and she turned to him, heart pounding painfully against her ribs. His face was pale, eyes wide with fear. "Stay with me, Tommy." She swallowed, determination igniting a flicker of courage. "We're going to push this wall with everything we have." They pressed their palms against the stone, pushing with all their weight, desperation fueling their strength. Suddenly, a rumble echoed through the tunnel. The wall shuddered, dust raining over them, chipping away the shadows, if only for a moment. Then, a crack appeared, a sliver of light introducing itself into the suffocating space. Anna's heart soared, hope trickling in like a long-lost friend. "We can break through." But as they forced the wall, agonizing laughter erupted from the shadows behind them. "You think a wall can hold back what you fear most?" The ground shook violently beneath them, a deep growl rattling from the depths. The light flickered, threatening to vanish as if it were being consumed by the voracious dark. Panic surged through Anna like fire, a final push felt necessary, but through the crack, something more than light seeped in, an image. A face, twisted and seething with rage, staring back at them. Eyes burning with life unclaimed. "Mommy! What is that?" Tommy gasped, his grip tightening around her wrist. "I don't know," Anna whispered, fear freezing her in place. They couldn't look away from the glimmer of that malevolence, drawing them ever closer to the unknown. Was this their escape or was it something worse? The shadows recoiled, and Anna's courage began to falter as the figure's mouth twisted into a smile filled with promise and torment. What awaited them on the other side? The laughter crescendoed, merging with the growl, flooding the passage as they realized their true nightmare had only just begun. The air thickened as Anna and Tommy pressed against the jagged wall, desperation lending them strength. They couldn't look away from the grotesque figure that stared back at them. Its face was a haunting mask of rage, a promise of pain. Shadows slithered around them, each whisper growing louder, echoing doubts in her mind. "Mommy, I don't want to see it anymore," Tommy cried, his small voice trembling. But Anna couldn't let fear win. She felt a flicker of warmth deep within, a love that surged like wildfire. "Stay with me, Tommy," she said, her voice barely a whisper, steadied by sheer resolve. "We have to break through together. I won't lose you to them." In unison, they pressed their palms against the cold stone, feeling the pulse of fear vibrating through their hands. This wall, this barrier, it couldn't hold them. Shadows clawed at their backs, filled with anger and hunger, but Anna's love burned brighter. On 3. 1, 2, 3. With a primal scream, they pushed with all their might. The crack narrowed before widening again, splinters of light flooding their vision. The grotesque face writhed in discontent, shadows recoiling from the brilliance. Anna seized the moment, dragging Tommy forward as the wall crumbled beneath their strength. "Go. Run," she urged, shoving him through the gap they had created. As she followed, the shadows roared in fury, the ground shaking violently beneath them, desperation turning to rage. With one last effort, they dove into the blinding light. The world spun around them, time distorting in a blurred flash of brilliance and darkness. As they landed roughly on solid ground, Anna gasped for breath, the smell of damp earth filling her lungs. They were outdoors, but the familiarity of their surroundings felt warped, an echo of their haunted suburb, twisted by shadows. "Where are we?" Tommy muttered, standing wide-eyed, his innocence a stark contrast to the nightmare they had just escaped. "It's okay, my love," she reassured him, taking his little hand in hers. "We're out. We're safe, for now." But the very air buzzed with unease. They were not alone, figures emerged from the swirling shadows of the trees, neighbors distorted by the darkness that had consumed them. Their eyes glinted, echoes of the joy they once shared now twisted into malice. The hunger was palpable, a collective, frenetic energy swirling around them. "Join us, Anna," they called in haunting voices, merging into a discordant symphony that danced on the edges of sanity. "Stay back," Anna shouted, as desperation clawed at her throat. She instinctively blocked Tommy with her body, feeling the weight of the ancestral curse. The whispers filled her mind, threatening to pull her back into their fold. "What do we do?" Tommy's small voice trembled at her side. "Remember what we fought for," Anna declared fiercely, gripping his hand tighter. "We're stronger than them, we won't give in." With renewed determination, Anna stepped forward, the shadows closing in, but she refused to yield. "I will fight for my son," she shouted, her voice ringing clear. "We will not give in to despair. Light will always find a way." The ground cracked beneath them as her words rang out, the figures faltering at her defiance. She pressed forward, pulling Tommy with her, breaking the barriers of despair surrounding them like a thick fog. The shadows shrieked in outrage, they were not accustomed to resistance. "Mommy, look!" Tommy pointed at the sliver of sunlight breaking through the canopies above the first sign of dawn. Anna felt the warmth wash over her, it coursed through her veins, igniting the fire of hope. "Follow me," she urged, and together they sprinted toward the flickering light. The shadows screamed, lashing out, but Anna's heart surged with the strength of love and courage. As they barreled toward the light, it consumed them, wrapping around them like a blanket of warmth. They burst through the last barrier, tumbling into the morning glow of dawn. Anna gasped, blindsided by the brilliance, the shadows vanishing in the warmth of the sun. She looked around, breathless. They were safe, the cemetery now a distant memory. Tommy turned to her, his eyes bright with innocence reclaimed. "Did we win, Mommy?" "We did, my sweet boy," Anna replied, grounding herself in his presence. "We're free. And we'll keep fighting, together." With that, the shadows receded into the depth of the woods, leaving only echoes of their haunted past. The world felt lighter, the weight of darkness dissipating. As they walked hand in hand under the rising sun, laughter spilled from Tommy's lips like a song. Anna smiled, holding tightly to hope, knowing they had faced the darkness and emerged stronger. They had survived. As they embraced the dawn of a new day, a sense of serenity washed over them, whispering promises of fresh beginnings. They were free now, no longer burdened by the shadows that had threatened to consume them. Their journey was far from over, but they had chosen the light. Together. Before you leave, listen closely. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss upcoming exclusive stories that will chill you to the bone. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep your favorite content alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. I want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans know the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.